Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. It's Jamise, and yeah, I'm going to be talking to you today about 18 ways to know that it's time to leave your job. It's time to quit, get up out of there. And it has a lot to do with your mindset, your self-talk, and the new identity that you've taken on. You don't even recognize yourself anymore. Not recognizing yourself anymore in the job is probably a sign that it's time to move on. And you'll understand more about what I mean by that as I go through my list. So let's say in general, you think back to when you were a dreamer, you were a high achiever, you were spunky, happy, joyous, smiling, full of energy, bubbly, all those things. And now all of a sudden, all you do is murmur and complain to other people about your job, about your coworkers, about how much you dislike your job and your coworkers. That's number one. Number two is you've become a complainer. That's now your identity. When you think of yourself now while in this job that it's time to quit and move on from, all you do is complain to the point where you are a complainer. Like that's part of your identity. Your habits and your behaviors reflect that. Now, let me pause here before I go further into the teaching and just share this important framework for understanding when it's time to quit a job. There are only 3 ways to leave a job, and they are you either resigning, so you leave voluntarily, or you can retire, or you can get impacted by restructuring and layoffs, or you can expire. And that's me putting it nicely. But those are really the only 3 ways. When you resign, which when you retire, that's what you do too. You say, hey, like this is going to be my last month here. Thanks for my service, So remember that. RRE. You can either resign, be impacted by restructuring, or expire. And so if you don't, and that's kind of like the spectrum it can go on. If you don't want this to be the job that you expire in, and if you don't want to sit around and wait to be impacted by restructuring or layoffs, if you would like to work somewhere else before you retire, then the only other way to leave this job is for you to resign. And so that's why on this channel, we teach you the skills and the tools. And if you check out the links in my bio, we provide you with opportunities to go deeper on how to develop the skill sets and the mindsets needed to leave jobs. And you don't have to wait until it's time to leave. You don't have to wait until layoffs are in your face. You don't have to wait until you're already laid off. In fact, my testimony is that there was no layoff in sight where I worked. In fact, they prided themselves on never laying anyone off. And so my concern was, well, if y'all not laying folks off and I'm disengaged and my performance is being impacted by that, and I've already experienced burnout and took a leave of absence, and taking another leave of absence is not an option, how the heck else am I going to get up out of here? Okay? And there's a quote that says, well, this is from an employer perspective, what if we train them and they leave? And then the response to that is, well, what if you don't train them and they stay? And so I mentioned that to basically say that, your manager is your manager, and they can support you only so much. They can support you with where you work right now and navigating that place. But if you don't want to work at that place, then their ability to help you is pretty limited, right? The other thing I like to point out to people is that your manager is usually not a career coach. They might mentor you and support you, but what they cannot do oftentimes is coach you to get a job at another company. Because the company that they're managing you at is a company that y'all both work for. And like the way business and agreements and economies and stuff is set up, they're not going to be coaching you on how to negotiate salaries, find jobs that are a better fit for you outside the company, outside the industry. If you work in an industry and then you want to change industries like I did. If you're in financial services, they do financial services things. I wanted to work in tech, they do tech things. So I had to go over into the tech space to get the support from tech people in order to be able to move into that space. You see what I'm saying? So, yeah, those are some important nuggets to keep in mind as you think about navigating this space and you realize, oh, wait, I'm in a situation where I don't enjoy my job and I am ready to move on and I don't want to quit with nothing lined up. Or if I do quit, I want to know that I have a plan in place for where I'm going to end up next. And I would like to retire from somewhere else and I don't want to expire in this job. Like, if that's how you feel, then stick around for more of these pieces. These, like, because, okay, this is the other thing. When you think about leaving your job, I want these things I'm walking you through to help you take some of the emotion out. If you are listening to me go through this list and you're like, yep, that's enough reason for you to know, okay, it's time for me to go. It's time for me to get plans in place, for me to start making my exit, because objectively speaking, it's time for me to move on. Okay, so we mentioned that you're complaining and you've taken on the identity of a complainer, but now you're also blaming other people. And if you just do a quick search on externalizer, you've become an externalizer. And maybe before you used to be an internalizer, you were shut down emotionally, or maybe you had a bit more balance with things that you externalize versus internalize. But now it's the manager's fault, it's the coworker's fault, it's the company's fault, it's the culture's fault, it's the team's fault, it's the economy's fault, it's the government's fault. It's just everybody's fault, despite you being that common denominator. Number 4 is you're an excuse maker. You make excuses, you murmur and complain about where you are and why you're there. The best piece of advice I can give here is that saying, I'm not sure, is an option. Jamise, why are you still in the job that you hate? I'm not sure. I'm trying to figure that out too. Versus, what else could you say? Like, drop some excuses in the comments that you're using right now for why you're still in the job. Maybe you say you're too old. Maybe you say you're too young. Maybe you say you've stayed at this company too long and it's too late. Maybe you say that you just got to the company and it's too soon. Those are some example excuses. If you have more, feel free to share them down below so that we can demolish them strongholds and cast them down. Number 5, you view yourself as a victim. OMG, this is like real heavy on the identity side. Like, you identify as a victim at that job, at that company that's paying you every 2 weeks. And you can go get a job somewhere else that will still pay you every 2 weeks. Number 6, you call yourself an animal. You say you feel caged in. You say you feel, well, that's not really an animal, but okay, let's go to number 7. You refer to yourself. Okay, no, let's stay with number 6. You call yourself an animal. I was gonna say you call yourself a tree. You like, I'm stuck. But I'm gonna show y'all, I'm gonna post a picture of a tree. Bruh, this one I really was like, on my journey to rededicating my life to Christ, this one I really was like, he is not playing. Like, I know like the devil don't be playing with us and he like wants us out of here, but like God wants us like in here. He wants us, in his chest, but he's not gonna like snatch us up. But the way I just knew, I was like, oh my God, Jesus, there's a big old tree in the park and it got knocked all the way off and down. So that's when I saw that, I was like, y'all gotta stop calling y'all yourself trees, because even this big old tree wasn't even so stuck that it couldn't get unstuck, okay? So, but you do be calling yourself an animal and saying that you like cage and stuff. Number 7 is a cog in a wheel. You just like, you have no autonomy. You feel like you have no agency. You feel like you have no power. You feel like you just... I'm thinking about this page in a book where this man, he was so hopeless. He said he laid out on the ground, and then the man was like, "What you doing?" He was like, "Well, I'm gonna just be a speed hump." That's what being a cog in the wheel remind me of. It's just like, well, I'm gonna be a nothing. Just what, I don't even know what a cog in the wheel is for real. I heard the saying, but I know what a speed hump is. He just was like, it was a cartoon. It wasn't a real person. Oh my gosh. Okay, number 8. You're a victim. I feel like we said it already. You're a victim, and okay, let's move on to number 9. You have a victim mentality, meaning like you view yourself as like a sacrifice. These are going to be very interrelated because it's just like very disempowering, but you're gonna move on from this disempowering place that you're at. You have a victim mentality, sacrifice. You feel like you're sacrificing your life at this job. You're so hopeless. You're so helpless. You're stuck. Number 10 is, okay, maybe that's enough. Okay, yeah, we've been going at this for a decent amount of time. I'll do a part 2 to share with y'all more signs that it's time to move on. But if any of those resonated with you, then that is a objective way for you to know that perhaps it is time to quit. And I use quit loosely to mean put a job search plan in place so that you can begin to strategically prepare yourself for the pivot, for the career move into what you want to do next. And so that's all I have for you, and I will catch you guys next time. Bye.